to a show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats Podcast. And this week's guest, I will be speaking with returning guests to the podcast. Actually, my good friend Angelina and Matt.
Hi.
And
Hello.
welcome back. And I want to have both of them on the show because since the last time I spoke to them, they've both been promoted in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Angelina has been promoted to purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt has been promoted to brown belt. And Matt, you got promoted actually a little while ago.
It was June.
Yeah, it was like June.
June. Okay, I felt like it was earlier, a little earlier in the year. Oh, like close to a year ago. So, all right. Well,
it feels like it.
So, with both of you, actually, with your promotions, how does that feel? Like, how did it feel for you, Matt, getting the promotion to brown belt?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. It's like when I first started training, I just was doing it because I loved it, and the promotion was never part of my psyche. Like, hey, if it comes, great, but that wasn't my emphasis, my goal. And you know, and I've been pretty lucky on my journey that I've been promoted pretty quick between each belt. And you know, there's sometimes you feel like, okay, you know, I must have the skill set if the professors are seeing it, but sometimes you doubt it. You know, some days you're having an off day and you're like, I don't feel like a brown belt today, or when I was a purple, I don't feel like purple. But in hindsight, like, you know, I feel like it's been a good journey, and I was proud to be able to get it underneath Gabby Garcia. I've learned so much from her and her academy, and it's definitely a surreal moment. You know, she said, like, I am her first brown belt promotion, and she says that I will be her first black belt eventually. So, you know, hearing those words from, you know, the GOAT of women's jiu-jitsu, you know, it's pretty surreal. But it's been a fun journey.
I get what you're saying with the, you know, when you get promoted and it just feels surreal. You have those days where you question yourself, but you know, you're there, and you know, that's extremely awesome. And just when I saw it, I was like, oh, wait, I know him. Like, when anything comes across my Instagram for promotions, usually just kind of like, you know, I'll give it a like and just kind of keep going. But it's like with yours, I was like, wait a minute, I think Angelina maybe messaged me too, and it was kind of like it still didn't register. Like, I got the message from her, I believe, and then when I saw your picture, it still, you know, I think that's when it like registered when you posted it. And so congrats on that. That's in big, you know, big movements. And, you know, same question to you, Angelina, especially, you know, with you, you know, what were the feelings when you got your promotion? Because I believe when we talked, you were still kind of like,
It's surreal. It's still surreal. Like, and I feel like almost like an imposter when I tied that belt around my gi, because I wasn't expecting it, because I didn't do well on my test. I did well like the first half, or first page and a half, and then one question, I don't know, I just kind of got in my head, and I guess when I executed it, I had it right. But the moment I finished executing it, I was like, oh, wait, that's wrong. So then Gabby says, she was like, that was right. But she says, because you said it was wrong, I need to mark you, you know, down for that being wrong. And then I was like, okay, I understand, you know, and I just, from that moment on, I was just so stuck in my head and just overthinking it, and just, it just got so overwhelming at that point that I just couldn't finish executing the next set of questions. You know, I couldn't finish everything else. And I just, at that point, I was just mentally done. I was just like, I accept the defeat. I know what I need to work on. I'm going to use this, you know, next, you know, however long it takes to get to purple, I'm going to use this time and just work on the things that I know right now that I'm messing up on. And I was okay with that. I wasn't I wasn't sad at the point where I was like kicking myself in the ass for like, oh, you should know this or anything like that. But I was more, I guess, just more upset that I got so caught up being stuck in my head with the whole thing. And then I just kind of had the day, to kind of feel it out. And then I was over it. And then I was just like, okay, that's it. I know what I need to work on, and I just let it go. And then, so when we came to class that night, I actually wasn't feeling so up for it, because I've kind of been in this place where I've had to think, what are my reasons for doing jujitsu? Because it's one of the hardest things I've ever like done or put myself through mentally and physically. And what am I gaining out of this? Mentally, physically and spiritually. I kind of feel like it's there's, and mentally there's this thing for me. So I've been really questioning it. So I've had some challenges, but once, he was just like, just come to class, because, if I get a stripe on my belt, I really want you there. And I was like, okay, I need to, it's not about me right now. So when we went to class, I was still at that point where, okay, I still need to, I know what I need to focus on for my, for just moving further along in this process. And so at the very end, I think I was like the last person I think she called up in regards to promotions. And I no expectations at all of that it was going to happen. And when she did, I was just like, holy shit, like, I don't know how this manifested, but it did. And, I appreciated it because I see where I've grown and the challenges that I've had to get to that point. And the speech she kind of gave me, in the process, made me also see the growth that she's seen from certain issues that, I've kind of talked to you about, that we, that I just had going on. But when she called my name, I was just like, shit, I was just like so unexpected. I was really emotional too, because it just, I guess just seeing too, all the hard work has paid off. And even though I felt like I really fucked up on my test, she knew I knew stuff. And I just was so caught up in my head that, it was a learning process then. And also giving me the belt also, she said, was kind of like, even though you're at this place, it's still a part of growing at this stage. Even if you're not up to par to be specifically knowing everything under your blue belt, you're in this process. Part of the journey is still learning at that stage of getting the belt. So that felt really good, but I still feel kind of like imposter putting that belt on. It hasn't sunk in yet. It really hasn't, but it's been an interesting process for me. Very, very different from Matt's journey. I think for me, it's, I get very, when I'm feeling certain things, my emotions take over, and I can be very impulsive. Yeah. And those emotions can outshadow my logic thinking, and I'll make a rash decision based on the emotions at the moment. And he has to kind of like take me off the ledge and it's just like, okay, stop, just let it be. And tomorrow's another day. But, sometimes the emotions have gotten the best of me in training. It really has. So,
yeah, I mean, emotions, they're tough. Like when you're especially emotion based, like we share that in common. So yeah. I definitely understand that. But it's good that you all have each other for that. It's good that Matt's there to kind of, balance you out on that. Because I know myself, sometimes I let my emotions take over, and it's like, after it happens, like, oh,
yes. Yes. That's the hard part.
Hindsight 2020.
Yeah, you can't take back what happened in that moment with when those emotions are running high. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
With both of you, remind me again, like, how long have you been training?
It's 6 years.
6 years this November, right?
6 years to the month.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So, I mean, I went to visit a gym about a year ago. Yeah, when COVID restrictions lifted here in Maryland, and I went in, doing an open mat, and I sit down. I'm filling out the waiver. And they're like, "Hey, man, so how long you been training?" And I was like, about 6. I think at that point 5 years, about 5 years, 6 years. They're like, "Oh, so you're a brown belt?" And I was like, "Oh, well, no." Then it got in my head, like, as I get out there, and I was like, I'm looking around, they're all really nice and just scrappy guys, but it just stayed in my head the entire time. I was like, all right. And I'm looking at their blue belts. I was like, I don't know how to feel right now because I've been doing this for 6 years. It's like, okay, it's time to step the game up, I guess. Like, stop slacking.
It's I always tell people who are trying to rush it, it's like it's a marathon, not a race. Everyone has a different journey. Life takes over. Not everyone has the ability to like quit work and like focus only on training and go hardcore. Like if this is around your work schedule and then all of a sudden like life happens, you could say, oh yeah, technically it's been 6 years, but of that, how much has been concentrated training? That's the core of it. And that's like, okay, if you can only go twice a week, the retainment's not there. The clock is ticking, but unless you're able to really dedicate time, it's going to take a little bit longer. But again, there's nothing wrong with that. This is the journey. It's a life journey. Jiu-Jitsu saves lives. As you see those pages, like this becomes a lifestyle, and how you build it into your lifestyle is unique to each person.
That's when I got my blue belt. That's, my coach kind of pointed out to me that the time that I've been training, the length of time that I've been training, he's actually said it to me multiple times. It's like, well, dude, you've been here for this long, but, we factor in the first year you're here, you only trained 1 day a week. And then when you started coming to class more, you ended up really sick for a year. And then, so I still look at it as, because during the, those down moments, I was still looking at video, I was still reading, still, communicating with the coaches, trying to absorb. So, in some degree, it's like, yeah, I haven't been training that long, but then the physical degree is like, well, maybe it's, minus a year and a half. But like you said, it's a marathon and everyone's journey is different. So it still, sticks in my head though when I go there, like, oh, like, okay, well, this, weird. All right, I'm just gonna go out here on this mat and stretch now. Thanks, guys. But during your journey, especially, transitioning gyms, at any point did you feel like, I don't want to say like stopping, but did you feel like maybe you need to take a break or, kind of regroup and reevaluate things?
I know, we've always gone to gyms together, but I know my journey has been, I've never quitting was never part of my brain, but I felt a period of time where I did plateau and I was kind of questioning if I was in the right place. Like our last gym, like right when I got purple, I was kind of questioning like, hey, when you're a big fish in a small pond, it's hard to really learn stuff. And like if you're having to go to open mats and all this stuff to really challenge yourself, if you can only do that once a month, like your day-to-day training, you're gonna get to a plateau and you're not gonna feel like you're progressing or really upping it. And we had that come to Jesus moment. We talked with our professor and we stayed for the sake of like loyalty and family. And it was a small gym, it was family owned. But then, as time went by and then COVID hit, like COVID, I guess
perfect moment.
It was a perfect time to kind of jump off. Like the gym wasn't reopening and we started like training at each other's garages. And we just basically say like, this is time. We need to do this because we're not going to grow if we're just training each other's garages and each other's games. It's not the same thing.
And the bad habits become more second nature than actually challenging yourself and getting out of the bad habits. So we kind of got to that point, like you said, where, was this the right moment for us? And what was interesting about it too, was it just wasn't him and I like questioning, okay, let's start looking for someplace else to train. There was a core group of us that started together at the old gym that we kind of were staying in touch with each other about, training at each other's houses. And then like, okay, now that COVID is kind of like, the restrictions are kind of being lifted, let's start looking at other academies. And we didn't really look at too many. I mean, we had went to one right here by the house where Lucas Leet teaches at Fight Studio, which is a part of Checkmat. And it wasn't for us, and we were okay with that. And a few other people kind of checked it out as well. And so we ended up, a friend of ours, Frank, had gone to Gabby's gym at least, I think, a month or two before our academy actually closed. And so he went one day because his work sent him to a clinic that's literally next, a couple doors down from our academy. And while he was waiting, he just went over to kind of just check out the academy and just get prices and things like that. Because he was at a place where Matt was too, kind of thinking, well, how am I going to be challenged if we're not really being given that type of training? You know, a few of us were kind of feeling like that. We weren't really getting very far in our training, and there wasn't that certain challenges and growth that we were all seeking. And so when he came to class one day and he was like, hey, I went over and I met Gabby and I was bullshitting with her, and he was just like going on and on. He wanted to leave then. This was like in February, I think, but our academy closed in March. He was like ready to go then. And then the whole thing with COVID, our academy and all of that. So once I think June came, it was like 3 months they were training in the garage and things like that. And we were just trying to like figure out what we were going to do. June came, and I think there was like 5 or 6 of us that went on our first trial night to her academy. And we kind of knew already that first night, this kind of felt right for us. It just had a good vibe, and we just felt like, okay, this felt right. And so we went on a Wednesday. We did double training Wednesday night. We came back for Thursday, and Friday night we already knew we were signing up. And so the 3 of us signed up. And it's funny because since prior to all of this happening, there's a few of us, especially with Frank, we don't make decisions in regards to training unless we all sit down and like have this discussion. It's really funny. We have to come together and we kind of like weigh out the pros and cons of things. And so the 3 of us signed up. And then a few weeks later, 2 other guys signed up. I think we have a total of
more than 10.
Yeah, I think almost 13 of us from our old academy who are still training. We're all at Gabby's now together too. And it just worked out for us. And I think too, having the familiar faces of coming from where we all started together to now we're continuing to grow here with her, I think really helped us and has kept us going, because there's still a good half that we kind of asked, like, what happened to the other half that aren't training anymore? We haven't even heard or seen of them, but it's been nice that that's been the opportunity for us to grow there together and to be challenged the way we have been challenged.
That was going to be my next question, just asking if, the group that you came over with, how many are still there. So it's good to hear that, you all are still kind of hanging in there and sticking tight.
No, I was just saying it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, when COVID hit and our gym, shut down, at the time I had the key to the gym, and a teammate and I, we would go over there and we would just train. Just he and I, because we weren't going anywhere anyway. So we weren't exposing ourselves to like going out to stores. Like both of us, when we go to work, we worked away from people. So, we're like, okay, well, cool. Let's go ahead and meet at the gym and train. But, then you run into, that weird plateau where it's just us training. Mm-hmm. What are we really picking up? Yes. We have the physical movement that, we're kind of learning and we're growing on that, but there's still other challenges that we need to kind of get over and get through. And I don't know that was going to happen with just us two.
Yeah.
But that in between time, it got scary for me because I know my training dropped off drastically. Where I was going in 4 or 5 times a week to, upon returning, at best twice, if I was lucky. So I'm glad to hear that, that transition worked out for you all, especially, through COVID, and then that everybody's still kind of hanging tight and sticking together there. So Matt, with you having been promoted to brown belt back in June, how's the, your path right now, just everything up to this point? How does it, do you feel kind of smooth with your, transitioning into the brown belt role, or you still feel like you're kind of growing into the role?
It varies from day to day. There's some days that like, okay, I feel like I'm growing and I'm, experimenting, and, I basically, I'm flowing now instead of being, feel like I'm going to do this, this, and this, and that's all I'm going to do. Now it's like I'm trying to broaden my horizons and my transition points, and those are things that I felt like once in the last few months that have made the big difference. Instead of like, oh, this is how I'm going to get past here, and this is what I'm going to go for. I'm like, I'm going to go this way, and if it doesn't work, at least I know. And so if in the past I'd be like, I got to be on top, and now I'm like, if I go on the bottom, here's my 5 options. And I feel like progressively the last few months, like my brain has shifted to that mode where I can move around more. Whereas before I was kind of tight. I was like, my elbows are in tight, like, oh, I'm not going to let him get past my guard, or, I'm not going to let him sweep me. And now it's like, okay, let me open up, because I'm like, if I'm in defensive mode the whole time, I'm not going to be able to do anything. And now I'm like, it was like a few months ago, it was like a flip of the switch in my brain. Like I just got to open up more and see what's out there and piece it together. And I feel like that's been the biggest difference from my purple to brown, was I just throw it out there and trust that the technique's going to take over. It's like when we train and like they push us really hard and we're tired, they want us to hit that wall where technique is taking over. And I'm trying to get in that mode where I'm not trying to muscle things, or, I'm rolling with someone who's smaller than me. I'm not just using my weight to my advantage. I'm trying to use the technique more. And I feel like that's been the biggest transition from purple to brown, because I feel like I gotta get it dialed in here. I need to, have a broad range of things. Whereas purple, like, okay, I know my forte, and now brown, like I gotta have, I can't be a one-trick pony, so to speak.
Where you all train, do you guys compete, or you're just strictly growing within, like, more hobbyists?
I've competed in the past. Right before COVID was when I haven't competed since COVID. Post COVID. There's been a few in California. It was a little bit slower than other states. A lot of people were having to go to, Texas or Georgia or Orlando. And it wasn't until the summer of this year is when they're starting to do stuff in neighboring cities. And I feel like there's going to be a point where I'm going to do it. It's just hard when I look at the tournament schedules, like IBJJ, I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You're like, okay, like trying to get that time off, or going like, oh, it's in Vegas. Okay, I got to factor getting to Vegas. And, I got to be available from Thursday through Sunday. And I don't know what it is until last minute. And like, I need to just figure out that balance between work and it. Like, I want to compete, and they encourage us, and a few people have done it. I just feel like I just got to throw myself out there and find the right tournament to get my feet wet in the brown belt world. And then at that point, be able to schedule ahead. It's almost like a vacation at this point. I have to like schedule to be able to do it. I can't just say, oh, there's a tournament next month. No, I got to like plan way ahead.
Yeah, I know some of the registrations were closing.
Yeah, they're doing 50% capacity, a lot of them. And if you just second guess it, like, hey, I'll go back till later, it's closed. And it's like, you got to strike while the iron's hot, depending on what state it's in. And I think as time it opens more, then it'll be a little bit different. But right now it stands like, I feel like I just got to get out there in the near future, definitely.
At one point, I know with our team, once IBJJF opened back up, a couple of my teammates, they're second guessing. Like, eventually it became a rule. If they're going to sign up, they need to, basically kind of do it all together as a team at one time. Because we had a few people. I think one of our guys, he signed up. I can't remember, it was out of state, and he was the only one that he signed up first, and no one else was able to sign up because registration closed. And we had some teammates second guessing it, and then they came back and it's locked out, and it's tough. And I'm not sure where it stands right now, because with our team, again, everybody kind of signs up at once. So it sounds like, there hasn't been any real conflict as to who's going where and, how many people are going. I think the rule at our gym is at least at least 5 people have to sign up. So that way, they're sending coaches down there. uh, it gets tricky, but it's from what it seems like, at least I haven't heard any chatter that people have been missing signups and whatnot. So I'm not sure what what their capacity is now, if it's still 50% or if they kind of upped it a little bit.
Yeah.
But hopefully, things can get a little smoother, because there have been times within the past couple months that you turn around, it's like, hey, where's coach? It's like, oh, he's in Orlando or he's in Atlanta. It's like, dude, it's Wednesday. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
tournament. It's Thursday through Saturday. Like, it's a weird time to have a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah.
Right.
It's at that point, like, it's a vacation. You're like, okay, I got to get the hotel room, I got to get the airfare, and plus I got to get the time off. And depending on your job, you have to be able to plan ahead for that. And yeah, it's like, it feels like you're gonna have to think months in advance. Like, okay, the next tournament in this region is March of next year. Okay, once it goes open, I gotta like put the time off and get a hotel and all that stuff. Like, it's a little bit different than it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it's more of a challenge as far as coordinating your time, coordinating just the schedule period. And I know for my job, I think at one point they wanted us, if we're requesting time off, it had to be 2 months in advance, which is wild, because I don't even know what I'm doing next week, let alone 2 months down the road.
Exactly.
But what's funny about that is now when I looked at my time off upcoming yesterday, and all my time off is scheduled like February, May, and July. So it's very, like, as much as I complain about that, I do actually, but I'm scheduling around birthdays. So I'm not scheduling like, I'm gonna do a jiu-jitsu tournament in April. So let me get that time now. It's like, I know my daughter's birthday's in May. My birthday's in February. My wife's birthday is in August, but we're doing stuff in July. So it's like, okay, those things I know, but
that's all you can forecast for. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do things outside of your bubble. But like you said, the time will come, I envision, where it will come back to normal. But in the meantime, you just got to roll with the punches. And, if you're able to travel, more power to you, and just figure out what's going to be local.
There is, I know with California, there's always, like, I guess the West Coast period, Arizona, California, there's always like something going on. Here in Maryland, or on the East Coast even, it's almost kind of like we used to have quite a few smaller tournaments, and now I think the major one is Grappling Industries and Naga. Those come up quite a bit, but all the other smaller tournaments, you haven't really heard much about them. So hopefully something comes back about it. I know one of my friends, he has a promotion that he started up about a year ago, I believe. Yeah, a year to the day, or to the month. Arte Suave Elite, and he's been running shows. Each one, it seems like, as time goes on, it gets a little, they learn from each one. So it's always fun to hear of something new coming out. When you lose something, something else kind of comes in to fill its place. So, hopefully things again smooth out for you, and with the scheduling of these tournaments, and you can get back out there and compete, especially at brown belt. I'm sure that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. You just definitely want to challenge yourself. Like Gabby's always saying, like, okay, they say in Brazil, okay, you could lion in the gym, cat in the tournament. Like, you want to be the reverse. Yeah. There's no way to be that lion in the gym, and you don't want to be that asshole. Unless you're in competition training, like, okay, what happens. But for the most part, you're not trying to hurt your partner, and just be very careful with certain takedowns. But in a tournament, all bets are off, but you just got to put yourself out there and be ready for it.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I see with my teammates is, when I do end up once in a while popping up to the competition classes, And I'm just like, hey guys, let's go ahead and get a little bit of a flow. And then all of a sudden I'm getting dumped on my head. I'm like, nope,
No flow.
picked the wrong day. Wrong day for me.
Yeah, I'm not feeling. If you're not feeling up the speed, don't do the competition class because it's more prone to get hurt, especially if it's no gi.
Yeah, so I showed up to a no gi. I showed up to a no gi class thinking, oh, Friday night no gi. It's okay. My one teammate, he was like, dude, come check it out. Because the other class that we had offered closer to home, I get out of work at 6 and that class starts at 6. And I'm 15 minutes away with good traffic. So the other gym, it's about 20 minutes away, but it starts at 7. I was like, okay, I can do this. So I said, let's go. I show up and I'm looking around. I'm seeing black belts walk in. I'm seeing, purple belts walk in. I was like, okay. And then we get in there. All right. Nothing, it felt fine. Good pace. And then I realized, as we start kind of ramping up, it started going a little more and more. And then one of my teammates at this particular location, he's a really nice guy. I saw him hit that switch because the morning class with him is fine. We're flowing, but I saw his eyes just light up. And I was like, why are you looking at me like this?
Fresh meat.
I haven't been back. I was like, you know what? I don't know that I'm ready for this one. And the competition class, I didn't know it was a competition class, so I didn't realize it was 90 minutes.
Double whammy. No gi and in competition.
Yeah. So I showed up no gi, thinking, okay, let me get some good reps in here. Learn from Coach Ty, who's an excellent coach over there, and I'm excited. And then when it's time to go live, again, I'm not really the time hit like what time it was hit me. I was like, oh, so after class we're gonna go live. All right, that's cool. Like, no, class is still going, dude. Like, we're out of here at 8:30. I was like, oh,
one of those classes.
Like, oh, okay, well, so I'll return at some point. I just gotta mentally prepare for that one. I was like, oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah.
And Angelina, are you competing or holding off on it right now?
I don't know. I've never really had any desire to compete. And I think you and I talked about this one day. Well, actually, we did. And you told me, and it's always stuck with me. You had said to me, how can you tell somebody about war if you've never been to war yourself? And that analogy has always stuck with me because, yeah, you can prep and train for this stuff, all you want. But what it comes down to is the experience and the emotions of being there and what you get out of it. And I don't know if it's what I want. I'm not very competitive. Matt's extremely competitive at everything he does. He's very competitive, and I like seeing that drive in him. But for me, I don't know. For me, it's just like, I feel like if I were to compete, because I've seen this with a lot of things that I've done, especially just training in Jiu Jitsu, if my outcome didn't come out the way I had hoped, not necessarily winning, but at least, earning the points that I want in the match, or, things like that, doing the things that I trained for. If I don't see those outcomes, I feel like I would be judging myself really hard, thinking that I didn't train hard enough, long enough. I'm not as good as everybody says. My belt isn't representing what my skill set is. And I've done this with a lot of things in life where I get into this place where it's like a front for me. Everything else says, yeah. But when it comes down to the physical attributions, I'm not there. And I don't like putting that on myself. And for me, it's always been about longevity, not getting hurt, and just doing this for as long as I can, 5 days a week, because that's what we've always trained at, is 5 days a week. And I'm at this point where I'm trying to keep up with him at 5 days. And there's some days where I see like I can't hang anymore for 5 days. I'm lucky if I can get 3 or 4 in. My knees are hurting. The other day I was picking up dog shit when we were walking the dogs, and my knees almost buckled under me and I almost fell forward. And that's where I'm just like, okay, this is where I had to listen to my body. So that's where I question myself. I should compete at least once, but before I get that far up that I'm going to get my ass whooped, you know what I mean? But being at purple now, I'm just kind of like, now I'm starting to think about it. And it's interesting because Gabby actually asked me, I think about a week ago, that I should sign up, I think, for the December one we have here. And I'm kind of like iffy about it. One, I know that in the category that I'm at, even his category, because we're the same age, he's been lucky if he's even had one person sign up with him. So that's another thing that I'm kind of looking at, at 44, looking at that category. And also, I don't want to have to cut weight. That's also been a thing. I don't want to have to stress myself out to cut weight to be at a certain level, because with my gi and everything on, I know it teeters me over. I think the 150 weight probably till like 165, 70. And I know those girls are a lot bigger for me. So that's another thing. If I had to go into that category, I don't do good, with somebody that big. So that's where I'm like at this point where I'm like, I should, but do I really want to? And so I'm just kind of, I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's important to, also, like you said, you should, but do you want to? If you don't want to, it's, probably best, not to, just because in that sense, I know for myself, when I don't want to do something, but I do it anyway, I do it half-hearted. And,
yes.
And it just never goes well. And also, like you're saying, when you're doing this 5 days a week, I know if you're going to the competition class and you're hitting those hard reps, you're doing that every day, that's one thing. But if you want to have that longevity and be able to do this into your later years and with minimum injuries, that becomes a big thing. And I know for myself, that's one thing that I do teeter with back and forth. Is like, well, if I'm going out there, rough and tumble, with the competition team and just getting my ass kicked all over the place, I like it. My wife and I, we're watching UFC 268, and Kobe Covington, as he's getting hit, he's smiling. And my wife, she looks at me, she goes, "You do that?" I was like, "What?" She was like, "You laugh when you're getting slammed. You smile, you laugh." It's like, I enjoy it while I'm out there, but the thing is, there is still an after effect. I come home, my knees hurt, my back hurts, I got a really bad hip. It's like, so I think we all do it to our own pace and when we're ready and if we're ready. So that's always something to keep in mind. I know for me too, peer pressure, even at, how am I, 43? Yeah, that seems right. 43 is good. I'm in my 40s. I think 43. My wife asked me this morning, and I think we both agree 43 is the number. Like, even at 43, peer pressure is still kind of a fucked up thing for me. It's like they tell me, hey, you don't have to compete if you don't want to compete. And it's like, yeah, well, I probably won't. But then, there's just this push and this pressure.
Yes.
And that, I know for me, that messes with my head a little bit, not a whole lot, because I also will step up and say, they're like, "Hey, you want to go out and smoke some dope?" And we're like, "Nah, I don't want to." I was like, "Why not?" I don't really feel like smoking dope.
Not my thing.
Just
you do. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's like, and for me, I know if I don't want to do something, I will straight up say I don't want to do something. But when it comes to competing, though, it is one of those things where it's like, I'm competitive. I do like to compete. But do I want to do it in this arena where, and it's funny because everyone that I encounter that, competes or that I could potentially go up against, they're super nice. So that gives me that sense of like, oh, this won't be that bad. It'll be just like a roll until, you get in wrist locked. It's like, whoa, friends don't wrist lock each other. Like, what are you doing? So
par for the course when you're in competition mode.
I went in one morning, and one of my teammates, he's a purple belt. We had a good roll. We're going, and he went to my right arm, and he's attacking. I'm defending it, and then he wrist locked my left arm,
Oh shit.
and I had big emotions, like really big emotions. On the mat, no big deal. I was like, oh man, good switch up. After we got off the mat, I sat there and I contemplated life. I was like, man, I don't know what to do right now. I got wrist locked. He faked me out with it, no less. So, like,
Beat the switch.
it's like I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think I've spoken to him since. I'm really like emotional. It's not like blatant though. It's like if I see him coming my way, I just scurry away. Like I ain't got nothing to say to him right now.
Your boys. You do me like that?
Yeah, it's like we came up together. Like I thought we were friends, and you were one of the first people I rolled with. You took me under your wing, and then you wrist locked me. Like, how dare you? So yeah, I know for me that's a thing that gets weird. Where, when I have competed, I don't want to talk to anyone because that can affect me. If you're nice, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. Otherwise, I just walk around. I just think everyone's the enemy. Not like I want to kill them, but it's like I don't trust y'all.
I know that feeling because in class when I train, it doesn't matter who it is, because I know them on that personal level. And if I feel like I've accidentally done something or rolled over on their leg or stubbed their finger or something, I stop and I'm always apologizing. I don't know, because of that personal level, I'm concerned of their well-being, where there's been people where I don't really know, or people who've just pissed me off that I've never liked. And I can go straight, like a bull in the ring, with them and just be hard on them, smashing them and just not giving a fuck what I'm doing and just getting what I want. But then there's this other part of me that's like, oh, I hurt so-and-so, I need to stop. And it's like, I hate that sometimes about me because I'm apologizing for things. Or if I swept them, like the lasso sweep is one of my favorites that I go to. And a lot of times, because some of the people I roll with don't know how to get out of it, once I sweep them, they kind of give themselves like that bicep slice on their own. And I feel bad, but that's why I'm just like, I let go. You kept going. So you kind of submitted yourself, but at that point, it's just like, I need to get away from that, being soft, I guess, and being concerned about people's feelings, because they're not concerned about mine when they're throwing me around,
Yeah, I have this weird back and forth thing with that because I do care very much about everyone that I roll with. And I want to make sure I'm a good training partner. I want to take care of everyone.
Yeah.
But when they do something to me, and I know it's unintentional, they apologize, and I'm like, dude, I signed a waiver. It's fine. Go ahead. I don't have a problem with it. But if I do it to them, I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So it's very strange, but we're all humans, and that's, we're complex.
Yeah.
You got to find that balance, because it reminds me, like last week we were in class and Gabby heard someone say sorry, and she's like, don't apologize for good technique. Don't say sorry because you submitted them. Like, once you get on this mat, sorry should not be in the vocabulary. Like, we're training, and if it's a live roll and she's telling us to go 100%, it is what it is. We're not doing it on purpose. I'm not like trying to really like break someone's arm, but if you submit them, don't apologize. We've all accepted this is the lay of the land. And, and the moment you kind of put that in your brain, then at that point, maybe over time it will be, built into your psyche. But I remember hearing like, I don't want to hear sorry. Don't apologize for, good technique.
That's something that I get in trouble with also on the mat, is when I'm laughing or I'm smiling.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And I can't help it. That's what I do. And, talking about it last night with my wife, it's part of being nervous and part of a defense mechanism. Again, if you get a good takedown on me, I'm going to laugh about it, because it's like, number one, I should have known better. Number one. So I'm really laughing at myself. But number two, I'm laughing out of, nerves and just, that mental defense mechanism where, as I'm laughing, if I don't laugh, I'm going to probably cry. So it's like, I'd rather laugh on the mat than cry, because it's like, oh, look at this punk.
Down, you started crying. What the hell, man?
It's like, it was just a single leg.
Yeah, like it didn't like your knee bar you or anything like that, you know. You just went to your back. It's the mat's soft.
And that's the strangest thing to try to convey is like, I'm not soft. I'm just really emotional. Trust me. I can kill just as well as you, but I just do it differently. Like I've had friends like it just that don't train talk about apologizing and crying. And I was like, dude, I'll beat you up while crying and I'll apologize afterwards. Relax.
We're like you said, we're complex.
Yeah, like there's no black and white about this. There's a lot of gray in this person's soul, and I can't explain it. But
lots of layers to that onion.
Definitely.
But so talking, like you said, there's been times where Gabby comes in and it's lighthearted and we're flowing. She tells us to go like, oh, go 60%. And other times she's like, I've turned off the music. I don't want to hear no talking, because she hears talking and all of a sudden she's like, what is this, a class? Like, we're rolling. This is sparring. Like, I don't want to hear people having conversations. And if I have to turn off the music, the only person I should hear is myself. I shouldn't be hearing anyone whisper anything. Like, this is not a chance for you to teach someone how to do something. We're sparring. But other times it's like a roller coaster. Other times she's like, okay, let's, go through if you want to work on a certain move with someone. But other times it's like, this is brass tacks time and no talking. Like, this person is your enemy for the next, 8 minutes or whatever it be. So it goes with the vibe of the class. So, you bite your tongue and just go with the punches.
Yeah.
You just got to fill it out. It's like, all right, it's one of those days.
Yeah. She the professor walks in, and if they had a bad day or whatever it be, like, okay, it's one of those days, we're going hardcore today, and hope you took your pre-workout, because we're doing a hardcore, double duty today.
We've had classes where our previous coach, he'd come in and he'd turn on the music. If he puts on DMX, there's a good chance we're just going to do our warm up, and we are rolling from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, though. I'm fine with that. It's just
part of the journey.
Yeah. You just got to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go to class and all of a sudden she goes, wall. You're like, oh, look at the clock. Wow, we've been here for 15 minutes. It's going to be that type of class. And you see how many people, and they're like, okay, we're going by, we're rolling them out minutes the highest belt of the room is. And like, okay, we're doing 10-minute rolls each. And, the rest of the hour, we're doing nothing but rolls. And if it's no talking, put up or shut up time,
Yeah.
We have some classes where we do King of the Hill, I guess.
King of the Hill. King of the Mountain. Yeah. King of the Hill. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which I enjoy it, but it depends. Like, I like to be the attacker. Like, I hate being like, because it depends on what we're doing. If it's like, don't let them pass your guard, I do well enough, but once we get to that third person, it's like, oh no, I don't think I got it. I don't have the gas tank, and I don't want to just blatantly quit.
No,
but at the same time, it's like, I got to keep fighting, and then it's just gone. But on that comeback around at the, once I hit the back of the line and I come back through, I'm excited. I'm like, yes, I know I can pass your guard. I just can't defend mine.
I still remember when I got my blue belt, I did a test. I just got it in a class after a tournament, and I got thrown in there for King of the Mountain. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? Because literally they're sitting I'm in the heavy. They put me against all the heavyweights, and literally they say, okay, after 30 seconds, you jump in. Don't give him a chance to recover. Like, whatever position he's in, if his back's, just take his back. And I was doing that for like 15 minutes. And at the end, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, and then that was my, my initiation, so to speak, for my blue belt. Like, okay, and then afterwards he, pulled out blue belt from his gi. But I was like, I felt like punishment at the time. And like, okay, fight or flight, feel comfortable being uncomfortable. Guy outweighs me by 60 pounds. I guess let's do this, but yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. A lot of times when we would do King of the Hill, and this was especially when I was blue belt, once I got the blue belt and we were doing it, I would not make eye contact. I would turn, do anything so we wouldn't make eye contact. And one time he did call me because I think he knew I was trying to like avoid him. Calm me down again. I did fine. I got my sweeps. I was able to get to the feet or get a takedown, and it was fine. But once we got to that third, fourth person, and it was just like, and then they passed me. It was like, stay down. You're still in. I was like, what?
Like I thought winter stays. What's going on here?
like I don't want to, but but that builds character, and
yes,
I enjoy it. We've been doing it for during our takedown month. We've done it because we didn't have enough space, to work the takedowns and just kind of go live with it. So we do King of the Hill. I think we did it by weight. So us heavier boys are on the further end of the gym. There's two of us up, and then on the lighter side there are three people up, and just doing the takedowns, which I enjoy that. Regardless whether I'm in or out, I'm excited for the takedowns. So hopefully this coming week we're gonna go more into it. But that's when I really love it. It's like, and I'm trash at takedowns. I'm not very good at all, but I like going for it.
Man, that's how you learn. Reps, and I whenever I rolled white belts, or whatever, and they're like, oh, I just feel bad, this about my performance. Like, well, that's how I learned. I got thrown out into the shark waters, and it's, it makes it builds character. And you got to get those reps. It's all about reps. And like takedowns, people come in who are wrestlers are like, okay, they've been doing that for, 10 years. Okay. That comes natural. But if you don't have that background, you got to get those reps in to make sure you do the right technique. Otherwise, now I'm on my back and the guy is smashing the crap on me because I messed up that takedown, or, I'm about to get guillotined because I put my head in the wrong spot. But again, next time you go do it, you're like, oh, I remember what happened last time. I'm not doing that again. Let me try it differently.
Yeah. The other night I got one of my teammates, he has a judo background, and every time I get the leg, he just flips me over. Every time. I think he did it 3 times in a row, and he finally says, was like, come on, dude, you're better than this. What are you doing? Now,
one time is fine.
I did I get up exhausted, and I go, dude, I'm so tired right now from this. Like, trust me, this doesn't normally happen. He's like, I know. So I get the leg again. He does it again. And I was like, fuck. And then the last one, he went, I kind of crowded him, and I was able to get a trip. But upon that trip, it was a hard shove, but it wasn't meant to be like a, fuck you shove. It was more of a, I need to make sure you're going down shove. Yeah. And it was like, and then, class ended. I went over to, was like, dude, sorry, that was not meant to, like, I'm not mad at you. I was trying to make sure I got the takedown. So with, the recent promotions and, growing within your role as purple and brown belts, are there any like pinpointed specific like goals that you're looking to within the first year that you have in mind with your promotions?
I know for Brown, she's challenged me to, like, had me teach a class one time, cover a position and, and run the class. And then when there was a tournament, when she did a fight to win, her and the other black belt left, and they left the next 3 days you're teaching. And I feel like that feels like the natural progression for me to not only grow within myself, but to be able to articulate it to other people. And I feel like when, back in the day when I taught a kids class at my old gym, I felt like I got a better grasp of those positions because I was able to break it down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas if you're in class, you're like, oh, I'm going from 1 to 3 because, I got it. But if you have to articulate it, you can't skip 1 to 3 because not all people are going to be able to get it. And I feel like that's going to be the natural progression. Me helping out more, taking on the responsibilities. And, Gabby's always instilled, like, whenever someone gets a black belt, they're a black belt in life. It's like, it's how you carry yourself. The respect translates on and off the mat. And I feel like, you know, she always says, you're my brown belt. Like, you know, when she's gone, like the responsibility is on me to make sure that, you know, I'm her eyes when she's not there. And I feel like that's going to be the order. The responsibility that comes with it is not only like the rank, but also, you know, being a good teammate and be able to help push people up who are feeling down and getting them up to speed. And if it means them getting past my guard because I taught them something, so be it. You know, you got to check the ego at the door. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, I'm going against people half my age here.
Yes.
And you know, there's gonna be a point when I'm older that I they may not be as fast as them and everything, and they may get the upper hand, and I got to be able to be comfortable with that. And as time goes by, I feel like I just gotta help push people up, and as they get promoted and their skill sets build, I feel like, hey, you know, I had a part in that, and that's gonna be the natural progression in the brown belt to black belt or whatever it be.
I kind of feel the same way in regards to, you know, how you articulate something and how you break it down for somebody. Same thing, you know, when we coach the kids at the other academy, you know, learning how to do it yourself and learning how to break it down in simple terms for them, you know, especially kids, they grasp it. And I've found that with a lot of white belts that I've worked with, and they ask questions, the way I break things down is very, you know, like I'm talking to a child. You have to give very straightforward, but very basic so they can comprehend it. And I know the way my brain works too. I have to ask questions, and I need to understand why you're doing this and why you're doing that and why the hand is here and why the foot is there and what are you going to be doing here? Because if I just kind of see it and I don't understand what each step entails, then I don't fully grasp it. So for me, that's how I try to break it down to people. And same thing, you know, like you said, in regards to like you're teaching them something. And if I'm learning to kind of, I don't think I've really ever had an ego, but I know sometimes some things would kind of get to me, but it's also learning that as well. If they pass my guard, if they submit me, if they do this or do that, I'm starting to feel okay with it, because I am at that point where age wise, I don't want to get hurt. He and I, well, I know I am the oldest female. We have one other purple belt, but, she's not there, but maybe once or twice a month. So overall, during the weekend training, I am the oldest out of all of the females. And, you know, that does hit me sometimes, because I'm running circles around some of them, and I half of them might can't keep up with me, but at the same time, I always have longevity in the back of my mind. So that plays a big part for me. So, you know, it does come down to just letting them be, even though they're younger, and just kind of, you know, encouraging that. And reminding them the same thing, like he said, is building them up, because you do see a lot of defeat when they come in. A lot of, you know, starting from the bottom, you know, as white belts, a lot of, and I saw this especially on Friday night rolling with somebody, you know, the defeat, you know, after our roll ended, and he was just, I was like, are you okay? Because he was so gassed out, and he was just like, no. He shakes his head. He's like, I'm just disappointed. And I you know, it's just like, you can't be that hard on yourself about this, because one, I've been training for 6 years. Two, I put in 5 days a week that I've done for at least the last 6 years. You've just started. You come maybe once or twice a week, so don't expect to get past me, you know? So, you know, again, it's like having to remind people, it's about repetition. It's about, you know, muscle memory. The more you do things, the more you're going to retain it. You know, learning your body. That's the one thing I really learned. And I really try to pass on and encourage, you know, new practitioners, is that you have to understand jiu-jitsu is personal to each and every one of us. Just because we may be the same size and our body, you know, frames are similar does not mean that you're going to be able to execute the things that I can do, and vice versa. You know, I admire all my tall friends because they can do shit that my little short legs can't do, you know. And then there's stuff I can do.
You always have to adapt it.
You always have to adapt. And that's something that I really try to instill in them, is that if you can understand your body, you won't be so disappointed in training. You know, you understand yourself, what your body can do, and continue to daily, you know, the repetition, then you won't be disappointed. But don't be so hard on yourself, because there's a reason why jiu-jitsu is the hardest martial art out of them all. That's why there's only 5 belts, and it takes us as long as it does, because there's so much detail to things that it's not easy. You know, you really have to study things before you can fully execute it. And I really try to instill that in people. It's just be patient, understand your body, and know what works for you, because it's always different for every one of us.
That's one thing that stood out to me with returning after COVID. Prior to that, I was going 4 or 5 days a week. I was there all the time. When I came back, it was excitement. We were like, yeah, I want to roll with Dante. It was like, oh, cool. That, I feel like the pretty girl at the dance. All right, awesome. And
yeah.
Joke was on me. And I was just the floor was just being mopped with me. It was just, I'm just getting thrown around. And, after one of my teammates, he and I were talking, I was, disappointed in myself. I wasn't, it was more of a kind of a personal thing. I was just kind of off to the side by myself, not really like making it obvious, but, just kind of sitting there thinking. He comes over with Chad and he goes, you have to remember, you aren't the Dante that was training 4 or 5 days a week, a year and a half ago, a year ago. You've been training what, at best twice a week, and only for an hour. So you have to keep that in mind, that there are limitations to, what you've been doing or what you're doing in comparison to what your training regimen has been. And that's been something kind of playing in my mind recently, just because I'm still on, 2 days a week right now. But just, with my wife's schedule being what it is, I can't stay late for the gi competition classes at my specific gym. So it does kind of get in my head that, well, everybody's kind of progressing and, passing by, and, I'm still kind of stuck in neutral. But, also on that, I know for myself, there is, just kind of this push in me saying, whatever you do, don't quit though. It's like, you could be in neutral, but that's better than being in park.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
absolutely.
So, I think, and also, with the points of both of you, talking about, teaching the technique. I know for myself, working with the kids class, that was huge. It helped me understand a lot of things, and it made me feel like I'm starting to learn jiu-jitsu once I started really breaking it down for the kids. And then, like, kind of in an emergency situation, I had to coach the adult class, I was extremely nervous because there are a couple blue belts in that class that had been blue belts longer than I. And I think that night a purple belt showed up, and they were really cool. They were real helpful. They could see I was nervous, but that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu though. It's like, we're all a family, we're all a team, and egos, for the most part, aren't really, it's not, the ego isn't a thing that's going to make you turn on someone. So, I'm glad, that, I have this in my life. And I'm glad that also with jiu-jitsu, it's given me the opportunity to meet individuals like yourself. So for me, I'm definitely thankful for that. So thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I guess last thing I kind of want to wrap up on here, because the last time I had both of you on here, there's a discussion about the Spice Girls and bar fights. I've since kind of changed my tune a little bit after really watching a lot more of their videos. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I think I've misjudged the situation. But for yourselves, have you had to use your jiu-jitsu in an outside situation away from the gym?
Thankfully, no.
No. I when I walk into a room, I kind of know where I kind of catch where the exits are. I make sure I don't have my back to open doors. But I'm a non-confrontational type of person. If something happens in public, I try to defuse the situation. But I feel like if I had to, then I would have to, like, the flip of the eyes, like you said, I would have to go. But my natural tendency is like, I don't want to fight anyone. I don't want to have to worry about doing a police report. I don't want to have to worry about any of the I just want to get home.
And I think that's always been my concern too, is that, okay, what if we did have to defend ourselves, and because it's defending ourselves and not knowing what the other person, how crazy they are, if they have a weapon or something.
Yeah.
What if we have to break an arm in an arm bar? What if we have to break that knee? Are we going to feel guilty because we physically had to do harm to this person?
I'm not going to feel guilty. I just don't want to have to worry about getting arrested for assault.
But I know consciously, at least for me, those things, I kind of, no harm, no hindering, and, of anything, no, beings. And for me, that's kind of where I am. But, I have thought about it, and I do wonder, am I going to be held responsible because I'm trying to take care of myself and, not get killed or whatever the issue is. That's always a concern. But I do notice when the core group of us, Jiu Jitsu family, when we go out, it's interesting because I've watched all of the guys and some of the girls too, when we all train, we all kind of position ourselves in a way that everybody, just like when we're rolling, whoever's on top has to, like, be mindful of what's going on around you, because the person on bottom can't necessarily see what's behind them or what's coming, if somebody should kick them or what have you.
300 style.
So they all kind of like
you got to back up for each other. You got to make yourselves. It's less people, but together we're stronger.
But it's funny to see how we all kind of, I don't know, position ourselves in that way, where even though we're not rolling and we're in this social setting, we're still in that mind frame of, okay, I'm being mindful for my partner and my other training partners that are rolling. Yeah. And it's interesting though. And it makes me laugh sometimes, because even though we're not on the mat, it's like your mind is still in that place.
It's still a family.
Yeah.
You have that group mentality, and, we train together, there's a lot of vulnerability there, a lot of trust, and that translates to friendships. Like practically every one of our friends all came from jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like I have friends from before, but I find myself hanging out more with the people that I do jiu-jitsu with, just because it's like, that trust has to be there, and that trust translates to every part of your life. Like, hey, you're my brother, and it's not just say, hey, bro. It's not a cliche. Like, I really feel like, for a lifetime, that person will be there. I know they got my back.
That's the thing too, with, like you're saying, going out, just the ideal that hurting somebody, or somebody having a weapon, having to file police reports. I don't think, people who don't, I guess this might be more of a grown-up thing now that I'm really thinking about it. Like, we're adults. Like those are things, like, when we're younger, you're not thinking that. You're thinking like, scrap, let's go.
Yeah.
But like,
you're like, oh, okay, what's my insurance deductible? Like, you're like, what if I punch this guy and I break my thumb, or break my, like, I gotta go to the ER. Like, dude, that's 8 hours. When you're young, you're like, fuck it, let's do this, man. It's like alpha. Or now you're like, I don't want to deal with any of this shit. True. I just want to get out of here.
Or an ambulance drive. If you have to be put in an ambulance, $5,000
right there.
That's like, I don't want to think about that. But I think also, I think at least some of the things that I can recall in regards to, like, learning some of the basic principles of jiu-jitsu that I feel like translate in life in general, is you don't harm or hinder just for no reason because you know how to do this. If your life is in danger, then yes, then you have to. But it's not just, let's just fuck around and see what's going to happen. Or I just feel like, if somebody wants to start shit, let me see if my training really, can pay off. You know what I mean? So I do have in the back of my mind, okay, God forbid something should happen. I know I can take care of myself. But on my conscience, I wasn't taught to just let me go at it and see how much I can hurt somebody. I don't want to feel like while they may have deserved it, I don't want to go to sleep at night knowing that, okay, how could I have been better in preventing this? Did I let my ego get the best of me? And I think that's where I kind of, think about this too, is that being taught in jiu-jitsu, you leave the ego outside the door. And if something happens on the mat, then that's where, you've got some growth to do in regards to your training. It's not just about, how many submissions you can get, how much you can smash, or just how fast you are in passing somebody's guard. The biggest thing you should be learning is, how big is that ego? And you still have to check it at this point. If you're going out and kind of acting like, you're that person where, okay, I can handle whatever anybody throws at me and I can fuck them up kind of thing. That's, you haven't learned your real basic principles of jiu-jitsu,
Exactly.
Whenever I go out with my friends, I try not to go out a whole bunch because I'm a homebody. It's just, and going out is kind of costly.
Yeah.
I got action figures to buy. I can't be spending money.
You get your priorities.
Yeah, like I got things to do. But when we do go out, I am kind of always in this mindset of, protecting, like make sure, because my friends, I think they can hold their own for the most part, but they get in a situation where it's someone that gets the better of them. It's like, okay, well, I know I could choke them and put them to sleep. That would be my first go-to. But in general, it's like just being anywhere. I'm always thinking about protecting and hoping not to have to do any of it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like, I've only had one instance where I've had to restrain somebody, but it didn't get to a point where anyone got hurt. Where we had like a little campfire at our friend's house last Halloween, and we were hearing noises in the woods, and that even then things came to mind. And my wife's friend made a comment. She was like, if someone's in the woods trying to come here, trying to attack us, they picked the wrong campfire. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, can't none of y'all fight?
Big
Like,
game.
yeah, it's like I'm the only one here that can do anything. I mean, we got 3 kids, and 4 adults, and out of the 4 adults, 1 adult has any idea of any kind of combat stuff.
But I saw it on Instagram and YouTube. I know how to do it. No, you
It's like, I'm gonna put my keys, in my knuckles here, and like, okay, all right, but
you're going to cut yourself more than you cut them.
yeah, it's like being out. I always try to keep in mind. I want to look out and make sure my group is safe, but I'm always hoping that we don't have to encounter that. And as a matter of fact, most times I'm trying to talk the situation down anyway. And
diffuse it.
Yeah, if and I've always said this, and I still stand by it because it's happened once. It's like, look, if you hit me, it's whatever. Like, don't hit anyone that I'm with. Though you hit them, then I'm angry. But you hit me, it's like mistakes happen. You hit me twice, people mess up twice. You're not going to hit me a third time, though.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, that's where it's like, okay, they're cocking back for the third one. It's go time. But, it's, again, good that you all are keeping each other safe out there. And, you all are a family. So that's the instrumental point there. Otherwise, this has been great. And it's always, a good time chatting with you both. So,
You as well.
Mutual.
thank you for coming on here and being a guest. We're going to go ahead and wrap up because my wife just texted me and said dinner is ready. So,
that's priority for sure.
So I'm like, okay, all right. I sent her the thumbs up text back, like, I got you. Like,
I'll be there.
I'll be up in a second. Don't send Sophie down because it's like a tornado. She'll come down here, grab the microphones, and put headphones on and start singing. It's like, okay, hey, I'm recording.
Business.
But again, thank you for the two of you. Is there anything you want to shout out or have any mentions before we get out of here?
No, just thanks for always thinking of us.
Absolutely. Thank you again for being available. This was, I wanted to reach out. I think right after you got your purple belt, I think it was like, let's record like now. And then right before
I
you
want
got
those emotions.
yeah, it's like, well, yeah, like I had a teammate when he got promoted to he got promoted to blue belt, and I wanted to get him like that week. I was like, let's record now. He was like, can we shoot for another date? And we never ended up getting to it. Now I don't want to record with him because the emotions are gone.
Yeah,
it's coming up on a year.
Yeah, you've had too much time to like build it out. I want the moment in time reaction.
Well, it's like you're always that first one that I always, tell, like when either one of us has earned a stripe or the belt. Like you're like that first. Besides celebrating with him, you're the next person that I run to right away and be like, "Hey, this is what's going on." You're that first person.
And I do appreciate that. Like it feels like when you message me and you tell me something, it's like when my niece reaches out to me, my foster family reaches out to me. I feel like it's like that means something to me. It means like, oh, I'm one of those people you think of in the good times,
Yeah.
versus I'm depressed, like let me call Dante. Like, why the hell do you think of me when you're sad? Like, I mean,
therapist.
It's like I'm the worst therapist. Like, hey man, so I'm going through this problem. You know what you should do? Go have some edibles and a beer. Like,
yeah,
I don't think that's good advice.
Put on some Pink Floyd and lay low.
It's like, here, I've got a plan for you. Take a couple of these tabs here and sit in your basement and listen to Portishead. It'll be fun. They'll never call me again.
You're gonna go the lowest of the low.
But thank you for that. That does really mean a lot to me. And congratulations to both of you on your promotions. Like I said, when I found out, I posted both, to Instagram. As soon as I saw that you all posted, I was like, okay, that's the green light. I can post now. So like, I don't want to, celebrate your news before you get to celebrate it. That's just rude. So, again, thank you for including me, in your celebrations and, making me aware.
Always. You and I have become so close, over, I don't even know how, it's been a good more than 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah. It's
right after I got the blue belt, or maybe even before that.
I always try to look back and find like dates, like when I've chatted with, like, even like just here at home. It's like, if there's like a milestone or something, I'm terrible. Like, I'm good with like birthdays, and anniversaries, but it's like meeting people, because like circumstances are always so bizarre with meeting people. So I like to get it right to the point of like, when was the first time that you commented on the post? That to me is like, that was it. That was the start.
Yeah, that's the anniversary.
Yeah.
But I love you guys and I appreciate the hell out of you. So thank you.
The feelings are mutual.
and I see the Off the Mats t-shirt there. That's outstanding. Great. That's twice this week now. I've seen the shirt on someone, so that's making me smile. And what's really weird is like, I'm out here like with everything but a shirt. I have mugs, I have stickers, and I'm like, dude, I need to grab a shirt. Why don't I have a shirt? So I will have a shirt, and next time we all record, I will have mine on. You don't have to have yours on, but I'll have mine on, because like, I got to be in this group too. So
exactly, you got to rep.
And for everyone else listening, as always, thank you very much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for being a part of this journey. It's always very, I get very nervous every time I turn this microphone on, no matter what. And knowing that people are listening and, hopefully gaining something from these conversations, it makes it a little easier for me to do this, and it eases the nerves. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate the hell out of you all. Big shout out to Armbar Addict, a couple kids out there in Denver, Colorado, Eric and Allie. They have a t-shirt line and some sweatshirts now, even that they're promoting. So go give them a shout out. Go check them out. give them a follow on Instagram and TikTok as well under Armbar Addict. Great kids, funny content. Also, big shout out to Columpton Social Club. That's my other podcast that I'm currently working on with my good buddy Steve. It's evolved into a beer review podcast. So if you guys like IPAs and craft beers, I guess give it a listen. Or if you just like hearing me say bad words, yeah, you can't get enough of me on Monday. Go listen to me on Tuesday also. And be on the lookout for yet another podcast that I'll be doing in January, a monthly show called So You Like Horror. It's going to be a horror movie themed podcast because I enjoyed doing the October horror movie themes for Off the Mats so much. I love horror movies. So this is just another excuse for me to watch more of them and talk more about it. So be on the lookout for that. And last shout out is to Nerd Rage Radio, Bobby, Chris, and Joe. They got me started with podcasting. I can't thank those guys enough. So, big shout out to those guys. Give them a follow if you aren't doing so. Otherwise, if you have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to me on bjj.wiki on Instagram, Off the Mats Podcast on Instagram, email address offthemats2020@gmail.com. Any of the, I'm available. And I'm a friendly guy. So thank you all. And as always, you guys keep listening and I will continue to make these shows. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Deep one with it. Now let me sing a song.